Hi. Hey, good morning. Welcome to Above Life Channel. The purpose here is to inspire your spirit and to fill you with hope. This morning, we're going to have a chat. You and I are going to have a conversation. I'm actually live streaming this Monday morning. It is May 1st. Happy Beltane for those of you who follow the wheel of the year, or Beltana, as some of my Celtic wheel friends would say. So, today, instead of doing a traditional celebrity channeling, which is primarily the focus of Above Life Channel, I'm going to have a conversation with you about what happens with death and loss through that process because I've recently went through it. And so thank you so much to those of you who have sent me condolences and just loving prayers for my family. My grandmother, who was 98 years old, for those of you who don't know, let's catch up. Let's catch up. My grandmother, who was 98 years old, left this earth. She transitioned last week on Thursday, and she went into hospice care last Saturday. I started to go see her on Sunday. So I went Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and did all of the things that a granddaughter would do, especially when it's my father's mother. My dad wasn't available to do it. So my grandmother had two sons, my uncle and my dad was the oldest. So he would have been the one that kind of takes care of things. And because he isn't available, I, of course, would be the one that would do that. And so I'm the oldest of the three of us, my siblings. I have two other siblings. So I also have the unique capacity to really hold space, as you well know, especially if you've been in sessions with me as a psychic and as a medium. And my work here on Above Life Channel is just a sliver of a fraction of what I actually do in all of the psychic skill sets. Let's just say I have a lot of different psychic skills, we'll say it that way, as far as working with energy, holding sacred space, mediumship, communicating specifically with the afterlife, very comfortable in that arena. I've been doing that for 18 years professionally. This is my 19th year. And at the same time, um, I actually started this journey in 2004, 2 years after the death of my father, because I didn't grieve really. My dad died very quickly, over like a 6, 7 week period of time, went into the hospital, or 6 weeks. It was about, he was diagnosed with HIV AIDS, full blown AIDS, in June of 2002. And then he went into the hospital in July in 2002 and he never came out. So, um, at that time, I was pregnant with my second child, very, very pregnant with my second child. And it was a whole process of going to the hospital, making that pilgrimage back and forth to the hospital when someone is in, critical care or acute care, or even palliative care or hospice, which my dad moved into at the end of his life. I was not aware of my psychicness then. I had a lot of visions and things happening, but I didn't acknowledge. It was different. I didn't really embrace or embody or accept that as actual psychic abilities or experiences. I just hadn't had those aside from paranormal stuff. I had tons of that growing up. We should have a conversation about that. I don't think Above Life Channel, you guys really know all this stuff about me because I have used my Fairy Grasshopper YouTube channel for years to talk about this. Like for years, I've actually had another YouTube channel since 2012. So lots of stuff here background wise to fill you in on. So my actual journey, my opening awakening started 2 years after my dad died. And it was a whole thing. I actually buried his ashes. And at that point, and that's when kind of the opening happened for me. So I wanted to talk about then in this context about now that his mother transitioned in the afterlife. And I was there for that transition. I was there in the wee hours of the morning, actually early Thursday morning, she died. And I was there when she took her last breaths. And it was just her and I. And the same happened for my grandfather. So her husband, who died 15 years ago, I was there when he took his last breaths as well. And so kind of interesting how this has worked for me. Yeah, it's kind of crazy, special for me to be there. Um, And so, in thinking about that, it's brought up a whole bunch of additional information and healing opportunities for me personally about grief and the grief process and the awareness of how death is so different for different people at different times. And there's not one size fits all when it comes to living. And also, there's not one size fits all when it comes to death, dying. And it's not just a literal physical body death, but also we have been dying in so many different ways as we go through life transitions, as we change, our body ages, our lifestyles change. I mean, look at the whole process with COVID. So many of us, if we didn't change then, you're changing now. Like you're feeling the aftershocks of that 2020. Oh my God, stuff that happened. We're constantly and consistently, as energetic beings, which you are, looking to understand, looking to have a connection and more of a expanded sense of ourselves so that we can manifest, so that we can make ourselves the version of ourselves that we can be comfortable with and proud of and confident in and aware of ourselves, self-aware, and not reacting or responding to all of these old paradigms and cycles. Like I think about who I was when like I go back to now because my when my dad's mother died and I was there last Thursday, I was thinking about all of the things about it brought up so much about the grief and the dying process with my dad. That was 20 years ago. And so it made me very aware that we should have this, you and I should have this conversation about grief and about dying and how we're constantly in this cycle of life, endings and beginnings. There's such a, a sweetness, a bitter sweetness between these these processes that we've kind of separated, living and dying, when really I mean, life we think about life linearly because obviously our bodies do expire at some point, but then what about the spirit? And which goes first? And uh, I just I had this kind of profound shift a bit or perspective that came through with my grandma's death that was very different than with my dad's death, than with my grandpa's death. Just it was just different. And I thought we should talk about this and acknowledge that grief, for one thing, grief isn't something that has a beginning, middle, and an end. It has multiple stages, as you know, if you've followed or participated in a grief group or gone through therapy or counseling in regards to grief. By the way, if you haven't and you've had a traumatic loss of somebody in your life, like significant loss, a child, a partner, a best friend, a very close family member, go to counseling for it because your brain needs to also process. So there's so many levels of you that need to process death and loss, right? So many parts of you. So your mind needs to process it. Your mind has to process it. So does your heart. Okay. So does your body because your body holds this energy. It's like a tenseness. And for some, it could be fear, like heart-based fear. Could be dogma, like religious trauma, or just this fear of not feeling good enough, connected to some old pattern of I'm not enough, I'm not good enough. Therefore, if I die, what's going to happen? Or just fear of the unknown, the fear of I don't know. I just don't know what's after this life. Like, am I just done? Or maybe fear of loss, leaving your loved ones. Like, I'm going to leave my kids. Are they going to be okay? Or is my spouse going to be okay? That kind of thing, that unexpectedness that we like consistency, right? We like to plan. We like a rhythmic nature to things. We like a linear understanding of things, beginning, middle, and end. It doesn't always work like that. In fact, because the body you think of as this thing that has this expiration date, which it does, it also is extraordinarily intuitive, very psychic. It holds information for you. And so sometimes when you're going through a process like a dying process of a loved one, somebody in hospice care or palliative care, and or just revisiting loss, you yourself will feel things in your physical body. And it seems like we very much neglect our physical body when we are caring for someone else. You know this true because half of you are probably in this scenario. It's probably why you're watching this video, okay? And so I'm telling you, get support that you need, okay? things that you can do for your body, just consistently eating, do the water, make sure you're getting out of the house or getting out of the hospital or the care center and you're going for a walk. You can't just sit inside, look out the window and see the sunshine. Go out and stand in it for a few minutes. Have a cup of coffee maybe or decaf tea, water, and just breathe the air. Just be outside. Even if it's raining, just be like, oh, I just need the freshness of the rain, like that. Or the feeling of the wind on your face. Simple things like that. Let the body have its sensory support because it needs sensory support. Just as the heart does need validation for the emotions that come up, because in grief and in loss, the easiest thing to do is be angry. Think about it this way. Without just a physical death, think about a death of a relationship like a divorce. You are going to process different stages of grief as well in that because it's a massive, massive change. It is a death of something that once was. Okay. You might also experience this as when your kids go off to college. There literally is this grieving process that does happen. Those of you who know, or your kids leave the house or whatever it is, they go off to the military or they move out of the house. There is this massive change that happens from your time as the parent, and you shift into a different type of parenting. And so there's this major, massive death of what was the time that was, and now it's new. So there's this new time. So you have to kind of recalibrate and resituate yourself. And there are powerful and profound questions. Here comes the brain work that you will encounter when you have any kind of death or loss. So loss could be job loss, it could be kids moving out, it could be divorce, it could be any kind of massive shift in your life experience. That is a death. That is a metaphysical death. That is an energetic death. Treat it as such and recognize you're going to feel this loss and it's going to cause you to question everything about your life. And that is okay. That's a check in point. Utilize it. It is not a punishment. It is not happening because you did something bad. It is not a consequence. Loss is not a consequence. If it is a consequence, it is a consequence of living fully. There's a risk to living fully. You will feel loss. And even if you don't live fully, you will feel loss. You will experience grief in your lifetime many, many times. Let it be an ally, not an enemy. And when those emotions, feeling the emotions, it's so much easier to be angry and nitpicky and crabby than it is to be sad. And I know because anger feels much more powerful. It feels more passionate and like I have strong energy, I have strength. When the truth is, the sadness, the sorrow is what you need to clear and cleanse you. You need to let yourself be vulnerable in that state of sadness and sorrow. You need to be brought to your knees sometimes and cry on the earth, let your tears hit the earth, and the crying will randomly come. You might be standing in line at the grocery store for checkout, and you hear a baby crying, and you start bawling your eyes out, and you have no idea why. That just triggered a release for you because it's new life, it's fresh life, it's a cycle of life. It might not even be even remotely directly related at all to you and your grief process or your loss experience, but you are feeling. And the feelings will just come. They will just come out. So if you make room and space for yourself to feel those feelings, you will feel like you do have a little bit more control over the process of yourself. You will be able to manage the energy within yourself. But by honoring what your brain needs to process and think about, counseling, online support groups, that kind of thing, regardless of whatever kind of grief you have, it might be a physical loss of a relative or loved one. It might be a financial loss, a big thing like I got divorced or I had a business that failed and now I'm filing for bankruptcy. Whatever that is for you, there are massive losses that people are experiencing right here, right now. And so we will not devalue the intensity of those deaths because they are deaths. So in this process and experience that I've had recently, I was really able to see and to feel that even after 20 years after my dad died, I still have opportunities for healing from that experience. It isn't to cause me more pain. Sometimes pain piggybacks on itself, and you will redirect your pain into something else, try to fix it like, "Oh, I'm gonna, like, change my life now, I'm gonna get a new job, and I'm gonna focus my pain for a purpose on that, and then I'll feel powerful, I'll get my power back." And that happens for a while, and that works, and then eventually you have another loss, and then it kinda piggybacks, it keeps kind of paying it forward a little bit, and so sometimes you'll have a loss that seems subtle or small, but it will become huge for you because the grief is continuing to show up to show you, to give you an opportunity for yourself to pause and to heal, to clear out the emotions in the heart, to let yourself honor yourself by letting yourself, allowing yourself the room to heal, to express your feelings. Just get it out. It's like venting. Don't you feel better after you vent sometimes? Don't you feel better after you have an experience where you're really heard? Where somebody actually hears what you're saying and then they're compassionate towards you? Like, that's what we do in session, That's what we do in our intuitive coaching session, my psychic reading, that's what we do, right? So, like, because you always tell me you feel so much lighter. I'm like, "Yeah, because you expressed. You were seen and heard and held." So you can do those things for yourself. You can use journaling, you can use, meditation, you can use essential oils, you can use, um, physical body movement, walks, yoga, just sitting in a chair and rocking, rhythmic, repetitive movement to calm and soothe the nervous system so that you can release and identify what you're feeling. Get help from, like, a social worker, a counselor, a great coach, a feelings coach, something like that, to just really get the support you need. I recognize that some of those things seem very privileged, but there's also tons of resources online. I have even been on TikTok. Oh my gosh, there's so many somatic therapists. You got to find the good ones. Use your intuition, people. Use your discernment. Not everybody great. Okay. Not everybody that's a therapist or a counselor is great. I know. I get that. They're people, they're human. So find something that resonates with you and be open to receiving guidance or new tools or trying different things like EFT tapping to help calm and soothe the nervous system. This also honors your physical body and the energy that's in your body. Using the chakra system, like in yoga, to clear and cleanse and to just connect and move and flow. Maybe go swimming. Maybe take some time to just go out in nature and sit on a bench and just breathe the air. There's so many different ways you can connect to the energy flow and to your body, which is really holding a lot of the information and the opportunities for healing. So, okay, my friends, this is a lot. I know. You guys, guess what? I have a new client today. I'm pretty excited about it. And I'm looking forward to talking to them shortly here in a little bit. That's pretty exciting. I am accepting new clients for my psychic and coaching work. So, um, if you're interested in that, there will be a link in the description of my video so you can book a session with me. I also do video sessions too that are kind of mini sessions where you can get kind of what's like a reading basically. Um, and those are a little more affordable too. So check that out after. But I really wanted to have this conversation. I want to go deeper. I'd like to have another conversation with you specifically about the dying process, like what happens to the body, because I have had such a profound perspective from the recent death of my grandmother and really seeing how the human body functions versus how the spirit functions. And I know that from my dad's death, looking back in retrospect, and then my grandfather's death, how it felt. And it felt very different. My grandfather's death felt very different than my grandmother's. And it wasn't like either one of them struggled more, or there's this perception. Ooh, we should have a conversation about this. There's this perception that people are like hanging on, they're waiting. And sometimes that's true. Okay. To be clear, sometimes it's true. And they're usually hanging on for you because you are having a hard time because you can't quite get there, or you have to work and you're worried. And so they do try to hang on until you get there so you feel better. It's not for them. Don't make the mistake that the soul of the person needs you to be there in order for them to feel complete. No, they have angels and guides and spirit helpers, and they are master of their own destiny. They are not just, you need to come and clip the cord so they can go. No, 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 no. Do you really think you or one person in your family has that much power? Mm-mm. Please stop telling people that. That really is not the truth, and that's really painful to family members who cannot get there. The fact that you weren't there doesn't mean you don't care. It doesn't mean you don't love them. It doesn't mean your loved one doesn't know how much you love them. Of course they do. And in spirit form, we all know they have access to you and what you share and what you say and how you feel. So when you say, "Hey, I'm sorry, Grandma, I couldn't be there," they know. They're okay with that. Just because your family isn't, that's your family's problem. They're just redirecting their energy, anger, their grief, turning their sadness into anger and projecting it on you. Now, that didn't happen to me. That hasn't happened to me. But I have had so many sessions with people just like you who have had experienced grief and loss of a loved one where you couldn't be by their bedside and you have guilt for that. And I get that. That's a real thing, right? We're human. We're going to feel guilty sometimes. And when your family is like trying to tell you that you have to say goodbye. You need to show up or they're not going to die. It's like a huge not truth. That's an untruth. And the fact is that the family wants you there because then they'll feel better. It's like, ugh, stop layering on guilt during grief and loss. It should not be here. It doesn't belong here, but it is a natural human part of the process. And I think that part of the reason why the guilt comes in is to help you heal yourself so that you don't choose to accept the guilt burden for your family about the death of whoever. You don't have to carry the guilt burden. You get to choose to love yourself more, deeper, more profoundly with the support of the loved one in the afterlife, regardless of what their values or belief systems were, religious leanings in this lifetime. In the afterlife, they would gladly lift off the guilt from your heart and take it for you and fill that space back up with beautiful, light, pink, compassionate energy of love. That is the truth. If we really believe, even if religious practices and various spiritual practices would just truly understand and embody what they're touting about love and acceptance and embracing that, then there wouldn't be the need for the guilt projections. There wouldn't be the need for this, I got to be there. That's a human thing. That's a human thing. The love is eternal. It always exists. It doesn't die. That is what the soul holds on to connect and communicate with you. That's what it is. It's love. There's no guilt or shame or pain in that. Okay. The purity of the soul and the spirit connection to you and with you and through you is love. Even if you're mad at that person, even if you have unresolved business and you're holding grudges, it does not matter. You can release that at any point in your lifetime or never. That's your choice as a human person. And in the afterlife, as you're dying, it will transmute. It dissolves. So I wish we kept our own personifications, our bodies in the afterlife, because I would love to bump into some people that I know have very different viewpoints and opinions in this lifetime than I do and be like, would you like to say I'm sorry now? Oh, hi. Remember how you thought I was going to a different place, which was very hot? I'm not. Turns out they accepted you here too. Isn't that great? Like, I really wish it was more personified, so that people would understand. But I just know. I just know, you guys. I've talked to so many dead people. Okay. You just have to trust me on this, please. Please, can you, in this moment, can you just let the grief dust settle into a vibe of understanding that the reason why there's grief is to promote opportunity for healing and to acknowledge that you have had connection. And that is why you came into a body to connect. That's the purpose of your life. Stop asking me what your life purpose is. It is connection. How you choose to do that is your choice. And you get to use your unique skills and your cool interests and what lights you up to create that through your life. You are a living life purpose. You are a living, beautiful, energetic being that is hosted in a beautiful, gorgeous body, which sometimes is rickety and complainy because you need to take care of it. And like you need to take care of your heart. Don't let the guilt settle into the heart. That is what is in the heart space. That messes up grief. Grief is an opportunity. Grief is a pure, pure energy. It is pure and it travels the different stages through you, through your mind and your heart and your body and your soul, so that you can feel in those stages permission to heal and to connect in deeper, to just really root into this lifetime, because that's the purpose. It is not to cause you pain. It is to relieve pain that you're already carrying. And I know this. I know this because it's happened to me when my grandma died. I felt this opportunity open up once again to clear more of my own grief that I've held within my body, within my heart, and my soul won't accept carrying it. So it kind of disconnects my soul in ways to my truest, beautiful self, because the soul won't carry the grief. It doesn't see it like that. Grief is just like a bridge for the soul. It's just something you walk through, you pass through to get to the point of light. And you don't have to be dead to have that experience. Don't die and then figure it out. Please don't die while you're alive. Live. So release the guilt as much as you can, because that is something that is a projection onto you. It has been there, projected onto you from any point in your lifetime, and it just amplifies. Just the volume turns up on that, and it just gets bigger. The focus on it gets bigger then. So now we have the opportunity to clear some of that out. And so I felt so much like in my dad's death, because even with my dad's passing, so my grandparents were there all the time in the hospice. They were right there by his bedside. In fact, when my father left the earth, my grandma and my mom held his hands. His mother and his wife were there. And at my dad's funeral, at the memorial service, my grandparents, very church-going Lutheran people, never all the people that were there helping, there were tons of people with all the old ladies with the bars, and it's 20 years ago. So, they're all like, I don't know, like in their 70s and stuff. And they're all like making bars and cookies, and they're helping everybody, and they're hello and all this stuff. And it's so sweet and wonderful. But everybody thought Dad died of lupus. He did not. But that was the place that my grandparents were comfortable at. And that was the last thing before the AIDS diagnosis, was lupus, that he potentially had lupus or something like that. So that was the story. And instead of like being super angry about that story or needing to like break through that, I just let them have that space. And so did my siblings and my mom and stuff. We just let them have that, because that energy of guilt or shame connected to pain, we haven't even touched on the shame part, but that guilt energy, and then the not knowing, the feeling of being betrayed, maybe not really knowing your child, like them not feeling comfortable to share with you who they've been their whole lives. Like there's a whole bunch of stuff that they had to sort out, I think, and I don't know if they ever really sorted it out, but that was theirs to process. So for me to be like, that's not right, and let's clear this up, that wasn't my place. My place was to manage and handle my grief and the guilt that I had around that experience. And I am now processing that guilt. Now I feel it myself. I didn't feel it at that time necessarily. I did like everything right, supposedly. And now I'm at this time in my life where my life is massively shifted and changed. And now I feel it. So you will feel it, but use it as information to help lean into your own personal healing process and show up for you. That's the point. That's the point. And when you allow yourself to heal, it's not like oh, I'm done, everything's great. It's not like taking Tylenol and the headache goes away. The headache comes back. It might get a little bit lighter, but it's a process of tending to and caring for yourself, just as you would a loved one when they were transitioning. And I want to speak to some of you who Maybe you feel guilty because you couldn't be that person that was the caregiver and you maybe would have wanted to be, but you just can't do that. You just can't handle that stuff, and the dignity and how to handle that with the person and their body. And I had a huge awareness of how much I have shifted and how much I've grown in my capacity to really hold space with my grandmother because I thought I wouldn't be that person either. And I was with her and, holding her hands, rubbing her hands and touching her face. And I fixed her wig. She had a wig. And I fixed her wig and stuff. And I anointed her multiple times to help her in her journey, in her transition. And, I opened the window shades because it was always like dark in there. I'm like, come on, this doesn't have to be a gloomy, depressing thing. This might be her last day on earth. Let's let the sunshine touch her body through the window. Let's let it, kind of thing. And just really honoring the physical body as much as the spirit of her. And so, putting the chapstick on the lips because of the breathing through the mouth, as many of you have heard that experience. There's so much here. And if you want me to share this story more in depth, let me know. And maybe I would do it here, or maybe on a Sunday morning coffee, I could do it. But I don't want to bombard it with my own personal stuff recently because I'm working through this right now. I really want this to be about you as a viewer of Above Life Channel. And I want you to get more understanding about yourself and about energy and about who we are as people and what this really means and why we even have Above Life Channel is to be able to look down upon our life's experiences and put things into perspective. And the fact that we talk to dead people, they have so much wisdom, then we should be able to be more spongy and appreciate and soak that up so you don't have to live their pain. But when you do identify with their pain or you feel sorrow for somebody that's famous, for example, when they die, and a lot of people feel guilty about that. Why do I feel bad about Prince? I didn't even like his music. I wasn't really a fan, which they call them fan, by the way. So don't call yourself a fan because then people will know in the Prince category that you are not the original OG fan. Okay. Just heads up on that. But so that kind of loyalty is a big deal. It's a really big deal. And that's fine. But the reason why sometimes you wake up when somebody dies that you kind of knew about, but you didn't really connect to is because there's an opportunity to release your own personal guilt, your own personal grief, and your own personal loss. Some of the things that you are feeling activated or sad about are the same exact reflection of things in your life that you feel regret over, remorse over, or like, oh my gosh, why didn't I do X, Y, or Z? It could be about that relationship you lost. It could be about the job change you never made. It could be about the thing you never chose to do in college. Or it could be any number of things. But the reason why we connect in through the loss of somebody famous or well-known is because it's an opportunity to heal, to clear the resistance in the path so you can be a better version of yourself. And the better version isn't better by somebody else's standard. It's opportunity to feel good and to experience life in a way that's zestful and joyful. And you deserve that. And that's why you came here. That's why you came here, for the balance of the things, the good and the bad, the light and the shadow, the sad and the joyful. These things always exist at the same time. It's not one or the other. It's always an and. There's always a balance. It's always both. Do you see? It's always both. There's nothing wrong with you if you've suffered a lot of loss. It just means that you have this incredible capacity for healing. Incredible. Like processing so much. Like that's amazing. It doesn't feel amazing. I will give you that. I will give you that. But this is why you have support. This is why you have tools. This is why you have people and resources and online stuff that's free, TikTok and Instagrams and YouTubers and all sorts of people that are super credible coaches and therapists and counselors who are sharing with you their shit for free. It's free. You have access. Just find what is in alignment for you and devour it like vitamins. And then if you need additional assistance, you reach out and you get a coach. You hire somebody, you get a counselor, You go to a group, you find a group online. There's so many opportunities and resources. Care enough about yourself to do that. Okay? Please. That is the moral of this story. All right. So I'm going to say hello to the chat. Thank you so much for being here for this conversation. It is not a channeling, it is a chat. And let me know if you want me to go deeper and talk more about like the dying process pieces that I saw. I might do that on a Sunday morning coffee. If you're interested in that, I know there's a lot of people dealing with grief and actual hospice care and loss of loved ones that way, especially post-COVID, I think. So if you're interested in that, and I know that there's people that could appreciate that, I will do that. Let me say hello in the chat, and then I got to wrap it up because I got to get ready for my session. I got to get my coffee. Actually, I think I'll have tea. It's a new client. I don't want to overwhelm them with too much of my energy. So let me say hello to you. Let me dial it all the way back. Good morning. Your voice is so calming. Thank you, Jay. Appreciate it. Hi, Rebel. Nice to see you. Hello, Carolina. Hi from Chile. Hello. Thank you. Hey, Passion Pixie. Yo, good morning. Hello, Elizabeth. Hello, Ottawa, Canada. Hello, Lynette. Good morning to you. Marisol? Did I say that right? I hope so. Hi, Lisa. Nice to see you. Hello, Jennifer. Nice to see you too. Hello, Joni. Nice to see you as well. Thank you all for being here today. I appreciate it. Oh, sweet. You guys are wonderful. Thank you for being here. And thank you for watching here on Above Life channel on YouTube. Remember, the purpose here is to inspire your spirit. Whoops. Session reminder. To fill you with hope and to encourage you to live your life. That's the whole point. Is to live your life. It is your life and you get to live it. Just live it. Thanks for being here.